Welcome to episode number 1 of the Blissflowly Business Show. My name is Gavin Weber. So excited you're here and to be doing this. And if I'm being perfectly upfront, I'm a little nervous because I've got all this different technology going and I don't really know what I'm doing. So this first one in the future, I plan on doing this live just to help with editing and some other hurdles that I run through. Yet I decided, hey, take the pressure off this, do this recording first. So here's the real question. How are spiritual entrepreneurs like us, who don't want to play the same limitation game or by old traditional business rules, who know what is really possible and want to run their business from love, joy, and abundance, how do we grow our business and implement spiritual principles in a way that aligns with our divine gifts, our purpose, and helps us realize our truth so we build a business that simply flows, that we enjoy, and that grows exponentially from the extraordinary products and services we provide? That's the question. And this show will give you the answers you've been seeking to live the life you know is possible and create a purpose-driven business. My name is Gavin Weber, and welcome to the Blissfully Business Show. So that is my new intro. And if you've ever watched Russell Brunson, I might have read his book, and I didn't copy him, word for word, but his process I did. He teaches certain things. I think he has great insights. And why repeat the wheel, right? Why not? Create it from scratch if you've got a great core to learn from. So here's what we're going to be talking today in episode number 1. Number 1, what is Blissfully? Number 2, how Blissfully will impact your business, why it's so important, and also what it's going to mean for your life, right? And I'll say this before we get going on this. This is going to be in a lot of different formats. I'm going to do this live on YouTube. I think I'm going to be doing it live on Instagram. And then I'm going to put it on different podcast platforms. And I want to repurpose it because if you'll see, if you sign up for this podcast and listen to me, I'll be extremely transparent. I'm not going to tell you I have it all together. When I have concerns, possibly even fears, some things that I'm working through, I'm going to point them out to you. And I would say being a perfectionist has been at the top of my list. I have been editing my own videos. It really slows me down. I have lots of things I want to go through. And when I was reading, Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, he was talking about how he decided to do a podcast every day. And I don't think it turned out quite every day. But one of the things that stuck out to me is that he would do his recordings from his car. And at first, when I read that in the book, I was like, really? And I went and checked it out. I was like, I can hear background noise. And that, the old me, no way. Right now, my lighting isn't the way I want. It's making my face shinier than I want. I hope the audio's good. I'm using StreamYard and, using their 1080. I like 4K. All these things that I am making a big deal of that aren't that big of a deal, right? And I realize that. So I've had to take a, look in the mirror. One of the things I'm going to be teaching and sharing at myself of like, what's stopping you, Gavin? You have a message. You have a way that you can serve people. And it can make a huge difference in their business and their life. Yet you're using all these other things as an excuse not to get going. And so here I am. And today I was like, gosh, I'm still not approved for YouTube to do their live for another 2 hours. I have the time now. I'm like, nope, I'm going to record it. And for this first one, I'll just put up when I can get to it, right? So welcome. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, wherever you're watching this from, would love for you to. Would love for you to leave a comment, like it. You know the routine. That's going to get this out to other people. And this is, this like Blissfully Business Show. It's designed, you can probably guess from the title, It's designed for spiritual entrepreneurs. Okay. And how do I define spiritual entrepreneurs? They're probably not reading the same kind of books as everybody else and doing things the old way. They're looking for some universal truths, some principles of how they want to be, like their self-realization, their awakening, their ascension process, and like how can they incorporate their personal growth to provide more value and more service to their clients, right? So, and then you get to like share your gifts. And because you're stepping into your truth and who you really are, you more and more and more l- use your business as an opportunity to grow and to provide massive value for your clients. So the end result, will be that you're going to experience bliss no matter what. You're going to fulfill your purpose, and you're going to be using your business as your art. Okay, and that's very cool. Like we get to create this life, and why not create a business that is fun, that we enjoy, and that we wake up every day so excited to be doing. Also, you're going to learn how to not worry and not operate from fear. And I'm again very transparent. Just shared some things I'm working through on that, and you're going to get to see what's truly possible for you. And when you align with source and you fully step into what you came here to do, you're going to get to see that. So before we get into the questions of what is blissfully in more detail, what it's going to impact your business, I want to invite you. I have a free community on School, Skool. It's called Blissfully. And essentially, I'm teaching spiritual entrepreneurs. Number one, same thing that's on here, is how to be happy no matter what, and how to apply spiritual principles to their business so it thrives. And I have wanted to be in a community with spiritual entrepreneurs. I've done a lot of business coaching, and I'll get into that. Yet I'm looking to align with people who share the same values and the same desires to make a massive difference and to grow and to ascend. And all the stuff, right? So that's free. There'll be a link in the description. If you're watching this, there'll be a link on that. But believe me, you can look it up and find it pretty easily. Free community. And I have courses in there. Yet the real power is the community aspect of it. We get to support each other, we get to share ideas. And I will have a constructive atmosphere that's extremely positive, but it's something that we all get to create together. So I'll look forward to seeing you there. So that's one of the first things why I started Blissfully. I also love connecting, with just business people and learning from people and growing along with them. And then I have had the third reason so much success applying spiritual principles. And for the last few years, I kind of went in a cave and worked on myself. And it's time to come out of the cave. It's very obvious. It's time to come out of the cave. And I want to share with you these big ahas. Because if you're an entrepreneur, at some level you have failed, and probably failed on a grand scale. And that's all part of it. And it's going to happen. And I've failed many times, but I've also been very successful. And I've had some big realizations that have made a huge difference that I know are going to make a huge difference for you, not only to your business, but even more importantly, to your life, to your purpose, to living what's possible for you, and discovering your truth. Okay. So, those are the three things about the community, why I'd love to have you there. And so, let's get in to the topic at hand. What is Blissfully, and how did I come up with this idea? Well, I would very quickly say the definition of blissfully is the realization that you are divine, and then living that in all your actions, thoughts, and behaviors. Just imagine if your life was the expression of truth, of who you really are, and that your aura, your frequency, your vibration, your actions, everything that you came into touch with, and that you saw in this world, and the people that are around you would have that representation, that expression of divinity. Okay. Now, I know that it's not like uh, you experience that from day one, right? There's gonna be a process. And there is no better level, there is no higher level, there is no, you know, uh, comparison level, which we like to do as business owners and be like, oh, and especially the spiritual community. And I would say I've been guilty of this too. We love to think we don't have an ego, but our ego shows up in like how spiritual we think we are. Okay. Have you ever been around someone who just brags about what they know spiritually? And then you don't feel like their life is a reflection of that at all. And and you're just like, okay, hey, I think you read the books, you went to the seminars. I don't think you got the memo. I don't think you got the point. I have been around that a lot, and I want to make sure that this is a very authentic, transparent, and situation. And really, Russell Brunson, again, he's kind of inspired me to start doing it this way. It talks about, like, stop sharing so much information and document. So I'm going to be documenting this process. This is early on in the Blissfully Business Show, the Blissfully community on school, and I'm inviting you to come along with me and get to grow together. And I don't all these different movements over the years. I think it's pretty cool to be there in the beginning and get to experience what's possible with all the other people who are in the group too. Okay. So, what I want to share in this first one, and I think it's important. I don't want to talk, obviously I'm not interviewing anybody else, but I don't want to spend this whole time just talking about me. But I do think it's important to kind of let you know who I am and a little bit about my background. And so hopefully everybody starts with podcast episode number 1, and you get to watch it or listen to it however you want. But I have been just had my 25th wedding anniversary. It just a little over a month ago, a couple months ago, July 10th. Okay. Been married for 25 years to my college sweetheart, who a girl that I chased but didn't land until after college. And I have 3 awesome kids, 2 kids that go to 2 daughters. One's a senior and one's a sophomore that go to Big Ten schools. Very proud of them. And my son is a junior in high school. I live in Florida. I moved here 3 years ago from California. Before you start right away, when I say that, like, wow, 3 years ago, COVID. Okay. You notice, did you start making assessments? Did you start like, okay, I bet I know why this guy did that. And I bet you there's some aspects of that are dead on. Okay. You're probably right. But I would ask you to keep like an open mind, and, I will share stories and I get to share, some of the things I've gone through. And I want to tell you, when we moved here 3 years ago, we left in San Diego a wonderful life. If you would have looked at the outside and been like, oh my gosh, it's the all American dream. You're making good money. I actually have been in straight commission sales for almost 28 years now. I've had a lot of businesses on the side too, or full time. For 7 years, I had a real estate firm that I ran, and 100% by referral, and doubled it like 4 years in a row. I've had other successful businesses, including business coaching. Yet I've been very good at sales. It's come very natural to me, and I'll be teaching a lot on sales. Yet I will say it hasn't been my passion or my purpose. And you know, when I choose my words carefully, I do feel like, at times it's been like this golden handcuffs. It's a safe thing that most of the time I've been either an independent contractor, or I have been, uh, it's basically they just give me the appointments and it's straight commission, and I don't have to go in the office. So I've had a lot of autonomy. I've had a lot of free time. And so I've always gotten a chance to kind of run it like it's my business without having to like deal with employees. And that's been one of the things that has been annoying to me about a business, is like that leverage, that scalability of growing. Okay. And I'll just share, that's been a hurdle for me, that it's like, gosh, you make such good money in sales. It's not that hard for you. It doesn't take that, long. So why don't you just do that? Well, when I was forced to leave San Diego, And that's how I look at it. I mean, I feel like the universe was like, listen, listen, listen. And I wasn't listening. And so I pretty much got kicked out. Okay. It was a, we felt it was absolutely necessary to move and didn't know anybody. And it's a lot different in Florida than is California, as you can imagine. Not good, not bad, different. And the number one thing was I didn't have the support group. I didn't have my friends. I didn't have my golf buddies. I didn't have the fun and the laughter. And that was extremely difficult, extremely lonely. Also, I I didn't have a job here for quite I went from like I couldn't find a good paying job here for like the first year and went through some bumps, which I'll explain to you. Yet financially, I had a daughter that just started college and I didn't know how I was going to pay for everything, and we were in dire straits financially. So I know what that's like. And one of the big things you're going to see is like I've been in your shoes. No matter what level of success. Yes, I haven't had $100 million company like Hermosi or anything like that. Yet I relate and understand with the entrepreneur's path. Okay. And so what I was forced to do these last 3 years was to look at myself, to go inward, to see what was stopping me, to look at myself, to deal with my fears and what was ugly and what I'd always distracted myself from all these businesses to make sure that I look at what needed to be looked at and healed what needed to be healed. And getting back to blissfully, this is what, I had this huge epiphany in all these years of doing different businesses and chasing businesses. I would go back and forth between two kinds of business. I would either come up with an idea with a buddy or on my own that's like, this is hot, this is in, this is a great way to make money. And I thought it would be simple. And even though I wasn't that passionate about it, it seemed like a good idea. Or the second kind of business over the years I've done is to go after something that is really purposeful, but not have a really good plan, not really know if there's a market for it, not really know if people would care about it. And then I unfortunately just didn't have the structure and I didn't stick with it. And that's been, for all the businesses that succeeded, I stuck with it for enough time to allow it to succeed. And for the ones that I didn't, I usually would run it and we were going to run into obstacles. I didn't usually have enough passion to, or enough desire or enough interest to overcome the obstacles. And that's because what I'm about to share with you, I had this huge epiphany that and this is the game changer. This is like the foundation of this whole community is I realized I was chasing and creating and starting businesses not only from ego but from lack and from need. And so it was usually at the top of the list money, and what kind of money I could make for the lifestyle I want. And I would make all kinds of excuses spiritually of like, well, it's service and value to people. Yet right off the top, it was always like I would start these businesses because the end game was to always make as much money as I could right off the bat. Okay. And guess what? When they didn't make money right off the bat, I was making good money in my sales jobs that I was like, what am I messing around with this for? And the businesses where I burned my ships and I was really passionate about it, like real estate, I made it work. Um, so that when I realized, hey, you're starting these businesses kind of for the wrong reasons of not who you are and not like what you came here to do and fulfilling your purpose and living what's possible. I realized that I had it backwards. I was chasing a result, an achievement, a goal, thinking, hear this, thinking that achievement, result, goal would then make me happy. And then I would feel complete. And then I would be whole, right? And guess what? That was completely backwards. And I was on the proverbial, I don't think they have these tracks anymore. When I was younger, that's a whole other thing, but it just reminded me of those greyhound dogs chasing that rabbit around the track. No matter what, it's like how close they got, or even if they won the race, they never really won because it was always like, hey, what's the next level? Hey, what's the next, accomplishment? What's the next result? I don't care what you did yesterday, now bigger and better. And then I would have these arguments with myself and my ego of like, okay, that was pretty cool. I mean, that was pretty amazing. Like, yes, you kind of beat the industry standards, and yes, you had what people would look at as success, but you can do better. And now next year you're going to do this. And it was just never enough. And I always compared myself like, yeah, that was pretty good, but look what that person's doing. And now I'm going to go do that. And I love that excitement. I love that competition and that, spirit. Yet, if I'd hit it, I wouldn't be happy. And if I didn't hit it, I wouldn't be happy. So over these last 3 years, I've been forced and guided and instructed to say, hey, Gavin, you've got to learn how to be happy first. You've got to understand that you are happiness, that you are abundance, that all of this is within you already. And then when you can come from a place of abundance and joy and love and the experience of who you already are, then you can come from a place of wholeness and actually serve and actually give and realize it's never been about the money. Now, there's nothing wrong with the money, right? I open myself up to all kinds of abundance. Yet I know that regardless of what happens, all is well. And that's the difference is when I'm now starting blissfully, I'm starting it from a place of fun. I'm starting it from a place of purpose. Everything's about giving value. And, I want the people who are looking for this to have access to this at some level. And I feel like when I used to go after businesses that it was always conditional. I always thought if this happens, then I'll feel complete, then I'll feel better. And it just never happened. And I can tell you it feels so much different this way around. I don't I'm not worried about how quickly I get results on this channel. I'm not worried about all the subscribers, but hey, I would love this is subscription, a like, a comment. I I'm not worried about all the results I went after last time. I'm worried about showing up, about overcoming my stuff and staying in a very high vibration regardless, without worrying and just enjoying myself. And then whatever happens, I'm allowing it to happen naturally. That's where the flow comes in. Okay. So, I feel like flow is about two very simple things. Number one, how to be happy and how to live your life in flow. Okay. And, happiness is actually who you already are. And there's nothing, that's what I had to learn. I didn't, I had to learn that like I'm already happiness, that there's nothing I need to do or achieve in order to experience joy at a very high level. And regarding back to flow, I'm not just talking about like the state of flow where everything goes the way you want. I mean, that's absolutely possible. The analogy like Michael Jordan when he gets hot, or like athletes when they get really hot, or you're in the flow. There's all kinds of different ways, right? Yes, I am talking about that aspect of it. But, that's not a state that people are in constantly. You could be, you can work towards that, you can become that, you can experience that, right? But I feel like when you look at it as a state of flow and just trying to achieve that as often as you can, when a lot of people don't feel that way, then they just quit. Okay. The flow I'm talking about is trusting that everything that is unfolding is helping you get closer to your truth, to being happy, and to providing you answers, like to overcome the things that have stopped you, and to know unequivocally that everything that is happening is perfectly scripted and designed for you to awaken to what's possible for you. And when you are in that flow mentally, when you have that trust and that faith, then your world will absolutely change. And there is a process. Yes, you can have that mindset and realize that. But when I used to read the books, I've been doing this my whole life of looking at myself. But these last 3 years, I went deep. I mean, I was forced to look at stuff. And so when I was forced to look at stuff and be like, why aren't you happy? You should be happy. Like your life is really good. You have all the stuff, you have the relationship, you have the kids, blah, blah, blah. And yet you're still like complaining. You're still mad at the world. Still feel lack. Like, what is wrong? And I've had to look at that. And I know that doesn't sound sexy. I know that doesn't sound necessarily fun, but we're going to look at that because those things are what are stopping you in your business, in your happiness, in your purpose, and your fulfillment, and all the things that are waiting for you when you're able to look at them and overcome them. Okay. And something may happen you don't like, but you can still be in flow by not allowing it to impact you negatively. Like that's a huge thing. Is like there used to be so many things over the last year in my sales jobs that used to trigger me. I'll get into that more in the future, but like, oh, that would trigger me, trigger. And now those things happen and I just see them like, wow, that used to trigger me. And wow, it's just whatever. Like that doesn't affect my abundance. That doesn't affect my results. That doesn't affect like who I am. That's just this event that happened. And I therefore, I started, how would I say this? You know, when things, happen that you don't want, you still focus on staying in a high vibration and you learn from it without actually having to continue to experience the pain. And that pain is usually from the past. That's this trauma that keeps happening over and over that you're not aware of, that you keep repeating. And for me, I went from thing to thing to thing, this repeating cycle. Like, why are all these other people getting success? Why are other people have this amazing, businesses? Like, what's going on? Like, number one, they stuck through it. Number two, they got through their shit. And I never was willing to. Okay. So that's what blissfully looks like, that you first focus on staying happy and you stay in the flow of allowing and trusting everything that it's conspiring to help you. And I've got a lot of frameworks and ways to teach you that will happen, and you'll think it's a miracle, but really your perception's changing. You're looking at your life, your thoughts, your feelings, your choices differently. And when you do that, you start seeing everything differently. You start creating from a different perspective, which has a major impact on your business. And I love business. I love entrepreneurship. So I'm kind of using, your business as your gym. This is where you get to train. This is where you get to let go of and heal. Okay. And I think that's fun. So I'm glad you're here. Hopefully this is resonating with you. So I want to, kind of conclude this with a couple of examples. I don't want to just tell these concepts. I want to put them into play of what I'm talking about. So the first is a sales scenario. And if you have a business in some form, you're selling your product, your services, either you have people doing that, you're doing that. And here's the scenario number one. Let's say you have a team or a person that needs to sell. Okay. They're coming from a place of need. Their frequency is based on lack and being pushy, applying pressure to people and getting the sale. Okay. They are closing. In scenario number two, you have a salesperson or sales team who they're happy. They come from a vibration of happy, who love their job, who are grateful for the products or services they offer. They actually want to help people. They want to be of service, and they know their product will help, their client with conviction. Like they're almost letting them down if they're not able to share that in a manner that this is helping solve their problems and what they're looking for. And they share and give and operate from a high frequency that is based on helping rather than need. Okay. And let me ask you, I think it's probably pretty obvious. You know where I'm going. Which scenario sells more? Now, I was brought up in many sales environments, right? I mean, I've been doing straight commission sales for a long time. Right out of college, I sold long-term healthcare insurance. I was taught like close, 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 8, 11 no's, blah, blah, blah. I could go through a list of all my, sales jobs. And I became a student, but I also had so many trainers and so many methods. And I would say 80% of them were hardcore closing sales techniques that were manipulative, that didn't build trust, and that people felt like pushed. Okay, and guess what? Yes, that gets results. It does. It gets results. There's a lot of people who have mastered that, and they get results. Okay, but which one has the potential to get much better results? And I want to say I'm the case study of scenario number two. I was so frustrated with sales for a long time, but I was good at it. And I ended up with a company in San Diego. I was in sales, and then I was in their training department. Then I became a sales manager, and I became the general manager. And this is a story for another day, but it didn't work out there. And that is a great story. I have a lot of stories to tell you. Sorry to whet your appetite on that and not go there. Yet I when I had this other company that was like, hey, whenever you don't like it there, it was very stringent, it was very hardcore. They really had like, you do it this way, it's our way or the highway. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And the longer I was there, the harder it was for me to do that. So let me ask you, like, for if you're in sales or your business, if your job is hard for you to do, you're doing it wrong, because you can't reach your optimal level if you're not being who you really are, if you're not operating from your truth, if you're not coming from like your bliss and your abundance and love. Like, you're trying to be something that you're not. And that's a problem. So when I went to this new place, the owner was like, listen, Gavin, you know what you're doing. You know this industry. You're good with people. What I want you to do is I want you to just, I'm going to give you leads and you just go sell them. Okay. In this industry, around a 20 to 25% closing rate was pretty good. I think I was there like 7 to 8 years. I closed anywhere from like 35 to 40% in those years, and actually started off around 30, because like that was a lot better than everybody else. But then I was like, I can do this even, better. Got up to 35. And then when I left, I was like around 40%. And so here's, I want to just share some of those concepts I was doing, and I'll go into a lot more, detail with this, because this is a game changer for your sales and your business. But I this is what I did. I took out all the games, all the tactics, and I was very, very candid with people. I was transparent. I was authentic. I would say, hey, I might not tell you what you want to hear, but I'll tell you what you need to hear. And I'll always be upfront with you. Okay. And I did my best to serve them. And I showed them why we were the best choice. And I was with companies that I feel like we were the best choice for what they were looking at. And then, this is huge, I completely detached. All of my actions were like, I could care less if you do this or not. I want to serve you. I want to show you what my company does. And then I want to empower you to make a decision that's best for you. And then I honor whatever you choose. Well, guess what? That energy, that vibration was like, man, this guy is very professional. He's very polite. I can tell he cares deeply. And he doesn't really care if I go with them or not. It was just like, it's kind of, I wasn't doing this purposely, but it's this huge takeaway mentally of like, he all his actions showed that they were the best company. His pricing was very good in the middle of the road, and he kind of said all the stuff that we're looking for, and knocked off all the boxes, and then completely put it in our court to say yes or no, and empowered them. And I I know every business is a little bit differently, but I wasn't pounding them there on the spot. I didn't require them to say yes or no. And I had a 40%, closing rate. When I first started there, $1 million a year in sales in this industry, and this is like circa 2013, 2014, was $1 million was really good. I did like 1.3, and then I went to like 1.5, and then I went to 1.7, and then I went to like 2, then I went to 2.2, and I was on pace in the last year before we moved here to do 2.8, like during COVID. Okay. And I don't say that to brag. I say that like that process, um, it completely changed my results because I was coming from love and possibility rather than lack and force. And I changed my perception about what was needed for a sale. And I just made every single thing I did as if I were them and what I would want and how I'd want to be served. And then I worked for a company that could deliver that. And then I also focused on referrals. I wrote a book on referrals. I used to do real estate by referral. I don't have that book out anymore. That's a whole nother story, which I will share. That's a tough one. Oh my gosh. But anyway, I know how to get referrals. And that's one of the ways where I didn't have more necessarily appointments. I just had a lot more referrals. And those referrals were almost 100% deal every single time. The people already knew. So, as you can imagine, my heart has always been as an entrepreneur. And I fought good money with the jobs I had for a long time. And I have a sales job right now, and it's a good sales job. It's a good company. I finally aligned, and extremely grateful for it. Yet I do have a lot of time, and it allows me to do this. So I'm inviting you to come along for the ride. On future lives, I'll probably put notices out when I'm going to do it, and you'll be able to comment, ask me questions at the end. I would love to have this, be interactive. If you have questions now, like you have something in your business, like, gosh, I'm struggling with this, ask those questions and we can dive into it and I can prepare for that. So, in closing, if your business is working well, then I'm here to tell you that we can take it to another level with some new thinking and applying some sacred teachings to what you do in your business. And if your business is not working all that great, then we can figure that out and get you there. You can't change what you don't realize is broken. And what is broken is your thinking. That's what I had to realize is like, I'm chasing the wrong thing. I'm chasing this, this possibility of happiness if a certain condition happens. And that condition was always beyond my reach, or it wasn't something I really, cared about enough about to stick through. And then once I learned how to be happy, then now I'm coming from a complete place of wholeness and abundance, and it's all possibility. I get to create, I get to give, I get to share, I get to do what I'm passionate about. And I know there are a ton of other spiritual entrepreneurs out there that are looking for guidance and looking for a community like Blissfully. And again, I'll leave you information on that. But, you might know some, but you unlikely know all of what is stopping you. And we'll change that. And life is too short to play small. Let's make it a fun game of growth and possibility. And, who knows? You just might have some self realization along the way. So, thank you very much for listening or watching my first episode. Hopefully, it's the quality is pretty decent. I will see. I'm gonna. This is a recording. I'll be putting out there. Again, would love a comment, a subscribe, a follow, however you're looking at this, and I will see you on episode 2. And I feel like, let me see. Um, so episode 2, I have the title "How to Operate from Flow and Grow Your Business Consciously Without Stress," and that's the big thing, without stress. Like imagine like waking up every day excited about your day rather than this is what I have to do. Most people, and I was guilty of this, create businesses that are their jobs that then control them. And that's not what they wanted. And they're very stressful. So when you're coming from a place of blissfully, then you're not going to be worried. You're not going to be in stress. You're operating from a very high vibration, and so much will change from you. So we'll talk about how you can operate from that flow and how to work through your stress. So see you there on episode 2. Much love, my friend. Bye-bye.